Have you ever held a single penny in your hand and wondered if it could secretly be worth more than your entire car? Or even your entire house? Imagine this, a coin so ordinary, so familiar that millions of Americans have casually tossed it into jars, glove compartments, and couch cushions, without ever realizing that a single specimen could be worth close to $1 million. And yes, I'm talking about a penny. Specifically, the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent coin with the Denver mint mark, the mysterious D mint mark. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than the change you might use to pay for a stick of gum. But beneath that copper surface lies a story of confusion, scarcity, hidden treasure, a story that could put life-changing money into the pocket of anyone lucky enough to find the right version. Some of these coins have been reported to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, with one documented case topping an unbelievable $970,000. That's right, single penny that almost cracked the $1 million mark. But before you go tearing apart your piggy bank, let me explain why the 1982 D penny is unlike almost any other coin in American history. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, what makes this penny so rare, and why collectors are willing to pay staggering sums to own one. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1982. The United States is in the middle of an economic shift. Inflation is biting hard, copper prices are soaring, and the U.S. Mint is facing a dilemma. For decades, the humble penny had been made primarily from copper. But by the early 1980s, the copper in a penny was worth more than the penny itself. It was as if every cent the mint produced was being struck at a loss. Something had to change. So in 1982, the mint made a drastic decision. They switched the composition of the penny. For the first part of the year, pennies were still minted in the traditional style to 95% copper. Heavy, rich in tone, the classic coin Americans had known for generations. But halfway through, the formula changed. Suddenly, pennies were being minted with a zinc core and just a thin plating of copper on the outside. Looked similar at a glance, but they felt different, sounded different, and crucially, they weighed different. The old copper pennies weighed 3.11 grams. The new zinc pennies weighed only 2.5 grams. Now here's where things get fascinating, because the transition wasn't clean, it was messy. Throughout 1982, both copper and zinc pennies were minted. Even more confusing, the mint struck the coin in not one, not two, but 7 different varieties. Some with large dates, some with small dates, some in copper, some in zinc. And among those varieties, one particular version, the 1982 D small date copper penny, emerged as the Holy Grail. Why? Because it technically shouldn't exist. The Denver Mint wasn't supposed to strike that combination. But somehow, a few slipped out. Maybe it was a die mix-up. Maybe it was a simple oversight in the chaos of the transition. Whatever the reason, the 1982 D small date copper penny became one of the rarest U.S. coins of modern times. To this day, only a handful are known to exist. And when collectors find out about a mistake that shouldn't exist, their wallets start to open wide. One of these elusive pennies, verified, authenticated, and graded in top condition. It's been reported to sell for just shy of $1 million. Think about that. A coin worth 1 cent suddenly transformed into a coin worth nearly $1 million. That's not just a return on investment. That's a financial miracle hiding in plain sight. Now, I know what you're probably asking yourself. How do I know if I have one of these? What do I look for? Do I need fancy equipment? The truth is, the first step is deceptively simple. If you have a 1982 penny with a little d under the date, you need to weigh it. Grab a digital scale. That measures grams to at least 1 decimal point. If your coin weighs 2.5 grams, it's zinc. Common. Interesting, but not life-changing. But if it tips the scale closer to 3.1 grams, then you might be holding copper. If it's copper, with the small date font and that D mint mark, you could be staring at a coin that collectors dream about. And let me tell you something. Collectors aren't just interested in these. They're obsessed. Numismatics, the study and collecting of coins, thrives on rarity. Every coin tells a story, but the coins that shouldn't exist tell the most valuable stories of all. That's why someone was willing to drop nearly $1 million on a penny. It wasn't about the face value. It wasn't even about the metal. It was about owning a piece of history, a mistake frozen in copper, a whisper from the mint that slipped past the inspectors. Now you might be thinking, surely, if these coins are so valuable, every collector must already have hunted them down by now. Surely there can't be any left. But here's the twist. The vast majority of these pennies went into circulation unnoticed. For decades they've been hiding in plain sight, blending in with billions of ordinary cents, tossed into soda machines, forgotten in piggy banks, sitting silently in coffee cans across America. And that means one thing: there is still a chance. Somewhere out there, in a jar in someone's garage, in a roll of pennies from the bank, or maybe even in your pocket right now, one of these treasures could be waiting. But here's the kicker. Time is running out. Every year, more and more pennies are melted down, lost, or simply destroyed. Every year, collectors snatch up what few rare specimens they can find. The window of opportunity is closing. If you wait too long, you may never get another chance to cash in on this once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And that brings me to an uncomfortable question. How many fortunes have already slipped through the cracks? How many times has someone handed over change at a grocery store, completely unaware they just gave away a penny worth a mansion? It's a thought that should send chills down your spine. Because if you don't look, if you don't check, you might be next. But let's pause for a second. You might be thinking this sounds almost too good to be true. A penny worth $1 million? Really? And that skepticism is healthy? The coin market is full of hype, myths, and exaggerations. And in this case, the facts speak for themselves. The 1982 UEU D-small date copper penny has been authenticated by top grading services. Its sales have been recorded. The premiums it commands are real. The reason you haven't heard about it before is simple. Most people don't pay attention to pennies. They think of them as useless, disposable, even annoying. And that's exactly why so many of these treasures remain hidden. Now, if you're serious about hunting for one, you need to arm yourself with knowledge. Study the difference between the large date and small date varieties. Learn how to spot the subtle differences in the shape of the numbers. Get yourself a decent scale. And most importantly, don't assume that just because a penny looks old and ordinary, it has no value. Most valuable coins in history rarely announce themselves. They whisper. And here's something else to think about. Even if you don't find the $1 million penny, there are other 1982 varieties worth significant money. Collectors pay handsome sums for high-grade examples, for coins struck with unusual errors, for pristine specimens that have somehow survived for decades without a single scratch. You may not hit the jackpot every time, but the hunt itself can be profitable. Imagine telling your friends or family that you paid your mortgage, or even retired early thanks to a penny you found in an old jar. Imagine the look on their faces. When you explain that while they were ignoring pocket change, you were busy cashing in. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's a fairy tale that has already come true for a lucky few. So let me ask you directly. Have you checked your pennies? Yet, are you absolutely sure you haven't been sitting on a fortune without realizing it? Or are you willing to risk being the person who gives away $1 million coin without a second thought? Because here's the truth. You don't need to. Be a professional collector. You don't need special connections. And you don't need decades of experience. All you need is a little curiosity, a little patience, and a willingness to look closely at what most people overlook. This is the moment where opportunity meets awareness. Right now, as you're hearing this, somewhere in America, another person is checking their change, weighing a penny, and realizing they've struck gold. The only question is, will it be you or will it be someone else? The clock is ticking, the supply is dwindling, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Don't wait until it's too late. Start searching. Start imagining that one day you'll be the person who can say, with a smile, that your fortune came from a coin nobody else noticed. Because sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest rewards. And in the case of the 1982 DeMint Mark Lincoln penny, the tiniest coin in your pocket might just hold the key to $1 million future. In 1985, the world was busy with Cold War tensions, pop culture revolutions, and the rise of technology that would reshape our lives. Yet quietly in the heart of Denver, Colorado, something else was being struck into history, not by politics or music, but by the United States Mint. Small, copper-plated zinc discs, only 1 cent in face value, rolling off the presses by the billions. To most, they were just pocket change. To a handful of collectors and sharp-eyed treasure hunters today, they represent something far more extraordinary, the possibility of life-changing wealth. Because hidden among those ordinary 1985 D Lincoln cents, marked with the Denver Mints, D are coins that have shocked the market. Coins that in pristine condition have fetched staggering sums. With reported sales soaring as high as $963,000, yes, you heard that right, a penny, worth nearly $1 million now. Before you roll your eyes and toss that jar of change back in the closet, let me ask you, when was the last time you really looked at your pennies? Not just counted them, not just shoved them into a vending machine, but actually studied them? Because the truth is, fortunes are sitting quietly in coffee cans, dresser drawers, and old jars across America, and one of them could be in your house right now. Let's rewind. The Lincoln cent has been in production since 1909, honoring our 16th president. Over the decades, it has become the workhorse of American coinage. But the story takes a twist in 1982, when the mint transitioned from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc composition. That change opened the door for striking errors, minting quirks, and survival challenges that today make certain years and mint marks especially desirable. Enter 1985. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of cents, and on the surface, they were just as forgettable as any other. Yet something happened, a combination of striking anomalies, die variations, and the merciless passage of time, that made high-grade survivors almost unicorns. And here's where things get electrifying. A coin that is common in circulation becomes incredibly rare in pristine condition. Why? Because pennies take a beating. They rub against keys, they get tossed in parking lots, they corrode, they scratch. Finding a 1985 D in mint state condition is like finding a rose blooming in the desert. Now imagine not just mint state, but nearly perfect. A coin so flawless under magnification that it could sit under museum glass. Those are the coins that drive collectors wild. Those are the coins that auction houses whisper about, where hands tremble as bids skyrocket into 6 figures. In fact, one particular 1985 D Lincoln cent in breathtaking condition stunned the market when it crossed the auction block at $963,000. Just let that sink in. The same coin that most people dismiss as worthless change nearly touched $1 million. Can you picture yourself discovering one in a dusty roll of pennies from the bank? Or tucked away in that old jar your grandfather left behind? Suddenly what seemed like pocket change becomes a golden ticket. But wait, let's sharpen the lens. Why do collectors and investors chase coins like the 1985 D? The answer lies in a cocktail of scarcity, condition, and sheer collector passion. The Denver Mint churned out coins by the truckload? Yes. But most were spent, worn, or damaged within months. High-grade survivors are exceedingly rare. And within that tiny pool, certain die states coins struck from dies that were either fresh, doubled, or uniquely flawed add layers of rarity. A doubled die, a repunched mint mark, or a strong strike can multiply value dramatically. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. The coin market thrives not just on rarity, but on story. Collectors love the idea that the ordinary can hide the extraordinary, that a penny overlooked by millions could secretly be worth a mansion. Let's be honest. Who doesn't love that? It's the American dream distilled into metal, the promise that hidden value exists, waiting for those with the eyes to see. Now I can almost hear the skeptical voice in the back of your head. Come on, how often does this really happen? Surely this is just hype, and yes, skepticism is healthy. But ask yourself this. If one coin has already sold for close to $1 million, doesn't that prove the door is open? And doesn't it make sense to at least look at the coins you already own before someone else finds the treasure you overlooked? Let's lean into some hard facts. The grading scale, known as the Sheldon scale, runs from 1 to 70. A circulated 1985 D might be worth a few cents. But as you climb the ladder, 64, 65, 66, the values begin to spike. By the time you reach 67 or higher, you're entering a world where bidding wars erupt. Why? Because collectors want the best of the best. They want that perfect time capsule. That piece of history untouched by the world. The difference between a grade 66 and a grade 67 can mean thousands, even tens of thousands, in added value. Imagine standing at an auction, watching the number climb, realizing that every tick of the gavel could change your financial future. Now let's throw in a twist. It's not just the perfect coins that matter. Certain errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, or those mysterious double dies can skyrocket value too. Picture pulling a penny from your pocket and noticing the D-mint mark looks doubled, or the date appears shadowed. That's not a trick of your eyes. That could be a double die. And those have sold for mind-blowing amounts. Suddenly, a flawed penny is worth more than a flawless one. Isn't that ironic? Think about the psychological impact here. You could be one coin roll away from uncovering a treasure that pays off your mortgage. One overlooked cent away from rewriting your retirement plan? Isn't it at least worth the effort to look? After all, the cost of entry is practically nothing. We're talking pennies. Pennies that could become powerhouses of wealth. But here's the catch, and it's a critical one. Time is not on your side. Every day, coins are lost, damaged, or destroyed. High-grade examples become rarer with each passing year. Collectors with deep pockets are buying them up and locking them away in vaults, never to see the light of circulation again. That means the pool of potential finds shrinks constantly. What is available today may never be available tomorrow. Waiting could cost you the chance of a lifetime. So where do you begin? Start by pulling out that jar of change, those dusty coffee cans, those forgotten piggy banks. Look closely at every 1985 D Lincoln cent you find. Examine the mint mark, the date, the fields. Does it look unusually sharp? Is the luster intact? Could it be an error? If you're unsure, don't guess. Seek a professional grader. Companies like PCGS or NGC have built their reputations on authenticating and grading coins. A few dollars invested in certification could unlock a fortune, and let's not underestimate the emotional thrill. Imagine the moment you realize the coin in your hand isn't just worth 1 cent, but potentially hundreds of thousands. Imagine walking into an auction house, knowing you've beaten the odds, knowing the coin you found in spare change will soon command national attention. That's not just money. It's history, drama, and triumph rolled into a single piece of copper-plated zinc. Now, let me plant one more seed. You may think, sure, but my coins are all modern, nothing special. Yet remember, the $1 million coin was modern once too. No one thought much of the 1985 D when it was struck. That's the beauty of numismatics. Today's ordinary can become tomorrow's extraordinary. The only question is, will you recognize it before it's too late? Pause for a moment and consider this. Somewhere right now, someone is emptying a jar of pennies without looking, spending them at face value. Somewhere, a coin worth 6 figures just passed through a convenience store cash register. The only thing standing between luck and loss is awareness. Do you have the awareness? Do you have the curiosity to check? So here we are at the crossroads. The 1985 D Lincoln cent, a coin most people dismiss, a coin some have cashed in for nearly $1 million. Choice is yours. You can walk away. Dismiss it as a fairy tale and let the opportunity slip through your fingers. Or you can take action, start looking, and possibly change your financial destiny. Which story will you tell 10 years from now? The one where you found a fortune, or the one where you had it and never knew? Because here's the ultimate truth. Rare coins don't announce themselves. They don't flash neon signs. They hide. In plain sight, waiting for the curious, the bold, and the vigilant. The 1985 D is proof of that. Ordinary yet extraordinary. Common yet priceless. A penny that could become your passport to wealth. So tonight, don't just walk past that jar of coins. Don't ignore the change in your pocket. Take a closer look, because within those pennies may lie a story that will change your life, and who knows? Maybe the next headline about a penny selling for hundreds of thousands will feature your name. After all, history has already shown us what's possible. A 1985 D Lincoln cent sold for $963,000. The next record breaker might be sitting in your hand right now. The only question left is this: will you notice before it's too late? This is the story of the 1988 no mint mark. Lincoln cent, a coin that looks almost identical to the billions of other pennies struck in the late 1980s, a coin so deceptively ordinary that the average person would never give it a second glance. And yet, this little piece of copper-plated zinc has shaken the coin-collecting world, with auction sales reportedly reaching as high as $955,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $1 million for a penny. Why? How? And most importantly, could you have one? Let's start at the beginning. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American pocket change since 1909. Over the decades, countless varieties and errors have crept into circulation: double dies, off-center strikes, missing letters, misplaced mint marks. Each one tells a story of the minting process gone slightly wrong, a human oversight, or a mechanical glitch that transformed an ordinary coin into a collectible miracle. And among these stories, the 1988 no mint mark penny stands as one of the most fascinating. In 1988, pennies were being struck in massive numbers at mints across the United States. Most bore a small mint marca, tiny D for Denver, or S for San Francisco if it was a proof coin. Philadelphia, however, traditionally struck pennies without a mint mark. But here's where things get interesting. For collectors, the real treasure isn't just the absence of a mint mark, but the subtle details in the design that set a rare variety apart from the billions of ordinary cents. The 1988 no mint mark. Lincoln cent that commands astronomical value isn't just any Philadelphia penny. It carries a dramatic story in its die pairing. Somewhere in the minting process, a reverse die intended for a later year, 1989, was accidentally used in 1988. The result? Transitional error. A penny born in the wrong time with details that don't belong. At first glance, it looks like any other cent from the era, but under magnification, a trained eye can spot the difference in the reverse lettering, the spacing, the font details, subtle, almost imperceptible quirks. These are the tells that transform a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure prize. Now, you might be asking yourself, all right, but why would anyone pay nearly $1 million for this? Here's the secret: rarity, condition, and demand. Collectors are not just buying metal, they're buying history. They're buying the thrill of owning what almost no one else has. Think of it like owning a misprinted baseball card or a first-edition book with a mistake on the cover. The flaw is what makes it priceless. And in the high-stakes world of numismatics, a transitional error like this, especially in pristine, uncirculated condition, can ignite bidding wars that climb into the stratosphere. Here's where the story turns dramatic. Imagine the fear of accidentally spending one of these pennies. Dropping it in a vending machine, sliding it across the counter for a pack of gum, or giving it to your kid for a school fundraiser. It has happened before, with rare coins, life-changing fortunes unknowingly exchanged for pocket change. Many 1988 no mint mark transitional cents are still floating out there, forgotten in old coffee cans, buried in couch cushions, or sealed away in dusty coin albums. The possibility sends a shiver down the spine. Let's take a moment and think about this. How many pennies have you handled in your lifetime? Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe more. And how many of those did you actually look at? 1 in 1,000? 1 in 10,000? The odds that someone, somewhere, is holding this ultra-rare penny right now, without even knowing it, are surprisingly high. And that someone could be you. Now, you might be laughing a little. After all, who has time to sift through jars of pennies like a prospector panning for gold? But here's the thing people do. They strike it rich. Stories circulate in the coin community of individuals who discovered rare cents in circulation and turned a casual find into a life-changing windfall. That's the allure of coins like the 1988 no mint mark. Centits, the ultimate treasure hunt. Hiding in plain sight, and here's a twist. The record-setting sales aren't just rumors. Coins authenticated and graded by top agencies like PCGs and NGC have hammered down at auction for staggering sums. We're talking about pennies that left the mint floor worth 1 cent and now sit in collectors' vaults, valued at hundreds of thousands. Some sources even report sales cresting near the $1 million mark, depending on grade and buyer demand. The price tag might sound outrageous, but in a marketplace where rarity is king, the extraordinary becomes possible. Now here's the question you can't ignore. How do you know if you have one? The good news is, you don't need to be a professional numismatist to start checking. Pull out your 1988 pennies. Flip them over. Look closely at the reverse, especially around the letters and the details near the Lincoln Memorial. The rare transitional variety shows design elements meant for 1989. Under magnification, these differences become clear. And if you think you spot something unusual, that's when you bring in the experts. Coin dealers, grading services, and online numismatic forums are filled with people who can help confirm a discovery. But here's the catch. Condition is everything. A coin that's worn down, scratched, or discolored won't command nearly as much as one in mint state condition. That's why collectors dream of finding one hidden in an old roll of uncirculated coins, untouched by circulation. Imagine the heart-stopping moment of peeling back a paper wrapper, sliding out a row of bright, gleaming 1988 pennies, and spotting the details that confirm you've struck numismatic gold. Let's pause for a second. What would you do if you found one? Would you race to auction, dreaming of a 6- or 7-figure payday? Or would you hold on to it, waiting for values to climb even higher as the years pass and the supply of uncirculated examples dries up? Either way, it's a decision that could change your life. And here's where the urgency kicks in. These coins are not getting any easier to find. Every year, more are pulled out of circulation and locked away in private collections. Every year, the odds of stumbling upon one in your pocket change grow slimmer. Which means, if you want a chance, the time to start looking is now. Don't wait until every last one has been accounted for. Because by then, the dream of finding a fortune in your pocket change will be nothing more than a story. It's told by someone else. Think about it. While others binge-watch TV or scroll endlessly on their phones. You could be taking 10 minutes a day to sift through the coins you already have. That simple act could uncover a penny that pays off your mortgage, funds your retirement, or sets your family up for generations. What's the harm in looking? The worst-case scenario is you don't find one, but you'll have sharpened your eye and learned something new about history. The best-case scenario? Well, let's just say you'll never look at a penny the same way again. And here's a little humor to keep things light. Imagine walking into a coin dealer with a rare 1988 no mint mark penny and saying, "I'd like to cash this in for $1 million." The look on their face? Priceless. So let's bring it all together. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of how extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. It's proof that sometimes fortune favors the curious, the persistent, and the ones who dare to look closer. Somewhere out there, maybe even in your own home, one of these tiny copper-colored treasures is waiting to be discovered. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at your change? Not just glanced, but truly looked. The clock is ticking, and every day that passes, the chance of finding one grows slimmer. But the possibility is still alive. The thrill, the suspense, the once-in-a-lifetime discovery, it could be just 1 penny away. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't dismiss that pile of coins as spare change. See it for what it could be: a vault of hidden wealth, a treasure chest waiting to be opened. Because history has already shown us that the humble penny 1 cent is nearly worthless in buying power can sometimes be worth $1 million. And the next time you hold a 1988 penny in your hand, pause for a moment, take a closer look. Who knows? That little coin might just be your golden ticket.
ChatGPT said, "Imagine for a moment that the small copper-colored penny rattling around in your pocket change could be worth more than your house, your car, and maybe even your retirement fund combined." Sounds impossible, doesn't it? After all, a penny is the coin we hardly notice, the one we let slip between couch cushions without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular penny, minted in 2017 with a tiny D mint mark, has stunned collectors by reaching reported market sales as high as $244,000. And in the right condition, experts suggest some examples could even break into the millions. Suddenly, that little coin doesn't look so worthless anymore. So why does this coin, a simple Lincoln cent minted just a few years ago, carry such explosive potential? To understand, we need to peel back the layers of American coinage history, collector psychology, and the razor-thin margins that separate ordinary pocket change from life-changing treasure. And if you think this is just a story about old coins collecting dust in museums, think again. Because this is a story about opportunity hiding in plain sight. A story where you might already hold the starring role, if you know what to look for. Let's set the stage. The year is 2017. America is minting billions of Lincoln cents, most of which will circulate for decades, passing through vending machines, gas stations, and piggy banks without anyone caring. But among these billions lies a secret, tiny variations, rare conditions, and flawless specimens so perfect that collectors are willing to pay sums that sound absurd. Why? Because in the world of numismatics, the study of coins' rarity and condition rule everything. And when rarity collides with perfection, wallets open, bidding wars erupt, and fortunes change hands. Now, here's where things get fascinating. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D stamped just under the date, produced an enormous number of these coins. On the surface, that makes them common hardly something to get excited about. But here's the twist. While billions were struck, only a tiny fraction survive in pristine, untouched, mint state condition. And those few that do are like needles in a haystack, hiding in coin rolls, bank bags, and yes, even in your change. Collectors, investors, and auction houses know this, and when a flawless example surfaces, the prices explode. Consider this in top condition. One of these 2017D Lincoln cents was reported to sell for as much as $244,000. Let that sink in. A coin worth 1 cent by face value turning into the equivalent of a luxury home. Can you feel the weight of that possibility? Imagine finding one and realizing that the penny you were about to drop in a jar could pay off every debt you've ever had. It's almost enough to make you want to dump out every drawer in your house right now. But hold on before you go digging. Let's dig deeper into why this happens. It isn't just about luck. It's about scarcity meeting demand in a way that ignites a firestorm. Collectors chase coins that are both modern and rare because they're accessible and relatable. Everyone has seen a 2017 penny. That's part of the allure. but finding one in museum-quality condition, with razor-sharp details and untouched luster, is like striking gold in your backyard. And unlike the stock market, where value rises and falls in mysterious ways, the value of a rare penny has a very human driver: obsession. Think about it. What would make someone pay 6 figures for a coin most people toss aside? The answer is a cocktail of passion, competition, and history. When two wealthy collectors both decide they must have the same coin, logic goes out the window, bids climb higher, hands refuse to come down, and suddenly a penny is commanding the price of a Ferrari. And the kicker: the coin doesn't even need to be ancient. It could be from just a few years ago, as long as it's the right year, the right mint, and the right condition. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever stared at your change and wondered what stories those coins could tell? Some might have passed through thousands of hands. Others may have been plucked straight from the mint and never touched. That untouched coin could be hiding in your possession right now. Doesn't that make you just a little uneasy about ignoring your pennies? And it isn't just the top 1% of specimens commanding attention. Even less than perfect 2017D Lincoln cents can bring in surprising money if they carry certain errors or varieties. Double dies, off-centaur strikes, misaligned dies, these little minting mistakes that most people overlook can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right buyer. Imagine pulling out a penny with a slight imperfection, only to learn it's worth more than your monthly mortgage payment. That's the kind of twist life rarely serves up, but in coin collecting, it happens more often than you'd believe. Here's where the fear creeps in. Every single day, people unknowingly spend coins worth small fortunes. Gas stations, grocery stores, and bank tellers see them pass by without ever realizing what just slipped through their fingers. How many 6-figure pennies have been lost to soda machines or dropped in parking lots? It's enough to keep you up at night. But here's the bright side. You don't have to be one of the people who misses out. You can be the one who notices. You can be the one who acts. Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a pile of change. Your eyes scan past nickels, dimes, quarters. Then you spot it, the year 2017, a bold D beneath the date. You hold it up to the light, your heart racing. Could this be the one? That rush of possibility is what collectors live for. And even if it's not the jackpot coin, even if it's just a valuable error or a high-grade specimen worth hundreds, it still transforms the way you see money itself. Suddenly, coins aren't just loose change, they're hidden lottery tickets. But don't make the mistake of assuming you'll just stumble across riches without effort. Knowledge is the weapon here. You need to know how to identify mint marks, how to recognize signs of wear, how to distinguish an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. Because, in coin collecting, ignorance is the quickest path to disappointment. And remember, not every 2017D penny is valuable. Most are still worth exactly 1 cent. But the few that break the mold, they can change lives. Now, let's turn the dial up one more notch. Imagine the future value of these coins. Today, one in perfect condition might be worth hundreds of thousands. But as time marches on, and as more coins get lost, damaged, or worn down, the remaining pristine examples will only grow rarer. What sells for $250,000 today could easily sell for millions tomorrow. That's the trajectory of collectibles throughout history, from baseball cards to art to vintage cars. What looks like an ordinary object today becomes a crown jewel tomorrow. So here's the ultimate question. Will you be the person who overlooks it, or the person who recognizes the opportunity when it's right in front of you? Will you keep tossing pennies into jars without a second glance, or will you start paying attention to the hidden stories etched into their metal? Because the truth is, treasures don't always come buried in chests or locked in vaults. Sometimes they come jingling in your pocket, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for someone with eyes sharp enough to notice. Think back to that $244,000 sale. Think about the collector who spotted it, preserved it, and brought it to market. That person didn't just find a coin, they found a life-changing moment, and you could too. That possibility is what makes this story so electrifying, so urgent. Because every day you wait, more coins disappear into circulation, more chances slip away. The window narrows, and once it's gone forever. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take one more look. That little 2017 penny with the D Mint mark might not just be spare change. It might be your ticket to freedom, your unexpected windfall, your brush with history. All it takes is one coin, one discovery, one moment of recognition. And the only question left is this: will you be the one who finds it? Because in the world of rare coins, fortunes don't just belong to the lucky, they belong to the ones who notice. And maybe, just maybe, the next fortune is already sitting in the palm of your hand. Now let that sink in for a moment. A coin worth 1 cent, transformed into a financial windfall large enough to buy a house, pay off debts, or fund an early retirement. All from something most of us mindlessly drop into a coffee shop tip jar. Doesn't it make you wonder what might already be hiding inside your pocket change? The story of the 2019 No Mint Mark penny isn't just about money. It's about mystery, about opportunity, and about how the smallest, most overlooked objects in our daily lives can carry the power to completely rewrite our future. But before we dive into how these coins achieved such legendary status, and why some collectors are scrambling to get their hands on them, we need to understand the backdrop, you see. In the world of coin collecting, mint marks are everything. They're the tiny letters stamped onto coins to show where they were made. Denver, San Francisco, Philadelphia. And here's the twist: Philadelphia coins typically don't carry a mint mark at all. So when you see a penny with no mint mark, you might think, well, that's just normal, right? And most of the time, you'd be correct. But here's where the story takes its first dramatic turn. In 2019, collectors started noticing certain Lincoln pennies without mint marks that looked different. They weren't just regular Philadelphia issues. Their condition, their striking details, and their scarcity made them stand out like diamonds in a gravel pit. Suddenly, a coin you and I could find in spare change wasn't just another copper-coated cent. It was a ticket to wealth. And the market responded in kind. One of these 2019 no-mint mark pennies, graded in pristine condition, shocked the numismatic community when it sold for a staggering $237,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $250,000 for 1 cent. If that doesn't make you glance at the pennies rolling around in your car cup holder, what will? But how does a coin most people think of as pocket lint become so valuable? The answer lies in 3 factors: rarity, demand, and condition. Coins minted with errors or unusual characteristics are incredibly appealing to collectors. Combine that with the enduring popularity of the Lincoln cent, and you've got a perfect storm. And condition, well, that's the make or break. Coins that survive the chaotic journey of circulation in near-perfect shape are the unicorns of the coin world. Here's a question to think about. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny? Not just to see if it was shiny or dull, but to study its date, its surface, its tiny details. If you're like most Americans, the answer is probably never. And that's exactly why so many fortunes slip through people's fingers every single day. Imagine this scene. A person picks up a handful of change at the grocery store, annoyed that it's mostly pennies. They toss them into a jar at home, where they'll sit for years. But inside that jar, maybe, just maybe, sits a 2019 no-mint mark penny worth more than a luxury car. The tragedy: that coin will never be discovered, never be graded, never be sold. Because no one bothered to look. Now, let's rewind for a moment and put this in perspective. The Lincoln cent has been minted since 1909, honoring our 16th president. Over the decades, it has become not just currency, but a symbol of American history and resilience. And yet, despite billions of these coins being produced, only a tiny fraction ever make it into the elite category of high-value collectibles. That's the paradox. The most common coin in the country can also be one of the rarest treasures. And here's the kicker. The 2019 no-mint mark penny isn't valuable simply because it exists. It's valuable because so few of them survived in the condition collectors crave. Out of the billions churned out by the U.S. Mint, only a microscopic fraction escaped scratches, dings, and the wear and tear of circulation. The few that did, they're sitting at the very peak of the collector's market, commanding prices that seem almost unbelievable. So how do you know if you have one? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You start by looking for a 2019 penny with no mint mark beneath the date. Then, study its condition. Is it bright, flawless, crisp, with every line of Lincoln's face sharp and every letter fully struck? If it looks like it just rolled off the press yesterday, you could be holding a life-changing discovery. But beware. The market is ruthless, and it pays only for perfection. A slightly scratched coin might fetch a few dollars, while a pristine graded specimen could soar into the 6 figures. And here's where the suspense kicks in. You never know which category your coin will fall into until you look. That's the thrill and the danger. Some people might dismiss this as lottery thinking. But let's ask ourselves, what's the difference between buying a lottery ticket and checking your spare change? With the lottery, you pay money for a slim chance at fortune. With coins, the chance is sitting in your hands for free. Isn't that the kind of gamble worth taking? Let's break the tension with a bit of humor. Think of all the times you've bent down to pick up a penny on the sidewalk. Most of us laugh it off. Why bother? It's just a cent. But what if that single penny was worth more than your car, your savings account, or even your house? Suddenly, stooping over doesn't feel so silly, does it? And the stories keep piling up. Collectors who once ignored pennies are now hoarding them, scouring rolls from banks, inspecting every coin with magnifying glasses. It's a modern-day treasure hunt, and the treasure is hiding in plain sight. Just imagine the rush of being the person who discovers the next record-breaking specimen. The thrill of holding history and fortune in the palm of your hand. Yet, time is not on our side. With every passing year, coins get worn down, lost, or melted. The pool of pristine 2019 no-mint mark pennies shrinks, and their value climbs. Every coin that vanishes makes the surviving few more desirable. It's a ticking clock, and the question is, will you act before it runs out? Think of what this means for your life. A single discovery could wipe away debt, pay for a child's education, or secure your retirement. And all it takes is awareness, persistence, and a sharp eye. Doesn't that possibility stir something inside you? Excitement, maybe even fear of missing out. That's the emotional power these coins carry, as we come closer to the climax of this story. Let's return to that record sale. $237,000. Picture the person who owned that coin. For years, it was just a penny, ordinary, unnoticed. But under the right circumstances, in the right condition, with the right buyer, it became a life-changing asset. And here's the truth you can't ignore. If it happened once, it can happen again. So the next time you're handed change at a store, don't dismiss those pennies. Study them. Search them. Treat each one as if it could hold the key to your future. Because the line between pocket change and financial freedom might be thinner than you think. In the end, the story of the 2019 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about a rare coin. It's about possibility. It's about how opportunity hides in the smallest, most overlooked corners of our lives. And it's about how one simple act, looking closely at what you already have, can unlock wealth you never imagined. So I'll leave you with this question right now. At this very moment, is there a fortune sitting in your wallet, your coin jar, or your pocket? And if there is, will you find it before someone else does? Because remember, every penny counts. And sometimes, one penny counts more than all the rest. Now here's the shocking truth. One of the most ordinary-looking coins in America, the 2020 Lincoln 1-cent coin, minted in Denver, has already rocked the coin-collecting world with jaw-dropping sales. Some of these little red cents, worth just 1 penny at face value, have sold for well over $200,000 in pristine condition. And whispers in the collecting community suggests the right coin, with the right qualities, could push into the $1 million range. Sounds impossible? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover why a coin you might already own could transform your bank account. How to spot the hidden signs that separate a penny from a payday. And why collectors are scrambling to get their hands on this unassuming 2020D, sent before it vanishes from circulation. But first, let's ask a simple question. How can a penny minted just a few years ago be worth more than a Ferrari? The answer begins with history. For more than a century, the Lincoln cent has been a backbone of American coinage. It's the coin every child has clutched in their palm, every cashier has counted, every collector has chased. But while billions of them roll off the presses, only a fraction survive with extraordinary qualities. And it's in that razor-thin margin that fortunes are made. The Denver Mint in 2020 struck billions of pennies. To the naked eye, they all look the same. Lincoln's stoic profile on one side, the Union Shield on the reverse, and a tiny D-Mint mark just below the date. But hidden among them are coins that never should have left the mint-flawless strikes, rare errors, or specimens that somehow escaped the everyday scratches and bruises of circulation. Now, here's where things get interesting. In recent years, collectors and auction houses have reported shocking prices for modern Lincoln cents. A 2020D in top-graded condition, what the experts call mint state 69, or even mint state 70, has fetched as much as $231,000 at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could have pulled from a soda machine in 2020 could have bought you a luxury home by 2023. And it's not just about condition. Certain error varieties, double dies, off-center strikes, and even unusual plating flaws have sent values skyrocketing. The market thrives on rarity. And every time a coin shows up that collectors believe is one of kind or nearly impossible to replicate, the bidding wars begin. So the real question becomes, how do you know if the penny jingling in your pocket is a future millionaire's treasure? First, look at condition. Most coins bang against each other in rolls, clink in registers, tumble in jars, and scrape through countless hands. But every once in a while, a coin slips through untouched sharp details, glossy surfaces, not a scratch in sight. These are the unicorns, the coins that third-party grading services like PCGs or NGC can certify as pristine. And when a coin earns one of those near-perfect grades, its value can multiply not just tenfold, not just 100-fold, but 100,000 times. Second, watch for errors. Picture this. You're looking closely at your 2020D, and something feels off. Lincoln's profile seems doubled. The letters in God We Trust look slightly blurry, like a shadow is trailing them. That could be a double die, one of the most coveted types of mint error. Or maybe the shield on the back seems shifted, pushed off to one side. That's an off-center strike, another prize collectors pay dearly for. Even tiny misprints can turn heads. Third, keep your eyes open for unusual finishes. Some coins may have been struck on the wrong plan set. a penny made with the metal intended for a dime. Others might have plating bubbles, missing elements, or odd colors that mark them as outliers. These quirks make a coin not just rare, but virtually irreplaceable. Now, you might be wondering, if these coins are out there, why haven't more people found them? Why aren't everyday Americans cashing in by the millions? The answer is simple, because most people never look. They see a penny, shrug, and toss it aside. But for the few who take the time to inspect, research, and verify, the rewards are staggering. And here's where fear kicks in. Because the thought you can't escape is this: how many of us have already spent one? How many life-changing pennies slipped through our fingers at the grocery store checkout? The idea is enough to make you want to dig through every jar, every drawer, every old coffee can full of change. But let's flip that fear into excitement. Because unlike many collectibles that require decades to gain value, the 2020D penny is already creating wealth right now. That means the window of opportunity is still open, but not for long. Coins disappear into permanent collections. High-grade examples get locked away in vaults. And once they're gone forever. Let me give you a mental picture. Imagine walking into an estate auction 20 years from now. The auctioneer lifts a single 2020 penny, perfect in every detail. The bidding starts at $500,000. Peons shoot up. $1 million. $2 million. And before you know it, that little copper coin sells for the price of a penthouse apartment in Manhattan. The crowd gasps, and someone walks away holding history between their fingers. The best part? That scenario doesn't require fantasy. We've seen it happen with the 1909's VDB cent, with the 1943 copper penny, with the 1955 doubled die. Coins once overlooked as pocket change now headline auctions with 6- and 7-figure hammer prices. And the 2020D Lincoln cent is already showing all the signs of joining that legendary list. So let's bring this home. What should you do right now? Start by checking every 2020 penny you come across. Look for the D mint mark just below the date. Hold it under a bright light. Tilt it. Examine the details. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. If it looks crisp, flawless, or just unusual, set it aside. Don't spend it. Don't toss it in a jar. Protect it. Next, consider professional grading. Companies like PCGs or NGC specialize in authenticating coins, giving them official grades and sealing them in tamper-proof cases. A coin that looks good to your eye might look extraordinary under their microscopes. And once it's graded, you have proof of its condition proof that can open doors to collectors and auction houses willing to pay staggering sums. Finally, educate yourself. Follow auction results. Join online coin communities. Watch for news about new era discoveries. Because in this world, knowledge isn't just power-its profit. The collectors who stay ahead of the curve are the ones who spot opportunities first. And those opportunities often disappear overnight. And here's the ultimate cliffhanger. Even as you listen right now, there are still 2020 pennies sitting in circulation. quietly passing from pocket to pocket, from cash register to tip jar. The next time you get change back from a store, one of them could be staring back at you. Will you recognize it? Or will you let it slip away? Think about it. 1 penny, 1 chance, 1 decision that could change everything. So the next time you hear that metallic clink in your palm, don't roll your eyes and dismiss it. Look closely, because history has a way of hiding in plain sight. And if you're lucky, the coin you hold won't just be a reminder of Abraham Lincoln. It will be the key to unlocking a fortune beyond imagination. After all, fortunes aren't always made in boardrooms or stock markets. Sometimes they're made in the quiet moment when someone looks down at a penny and realizes it's worth $1 million.